Hi folks, and welcome back. And today I'm going to show you how to paint a Alpine mountain village from your imagination. Whether you've been there or not doesn't really matter. You just have to kind of use your imagination and perhaps check into a little reference material. And I don't know, maybe you should use the internet to look at some pictures and kind of let them fuse together in your mind to give you some sort of idea. I am able to do it because I've been in the art business just about all my life, and I've seen millions of pictures of just about everything, and so I feel like I can just kind of stand here and paint something that I don't have to be looking at a picture. And I think it's challenging for lots of people. For some reason I seem to be able to do it, so just bear with me and let's see where we go. So at any rate, I am using burnt sienna and a very small amount of medium, and at the moment it's probably Gamsol with a very little, or no, Galkid Light with a little bit of Gamsol thinner mixed in. And I'm just going to draw again without much of a preconceived notion of what I'm doing, and I just start shaping the hills and putting in a few of these evergreen shapes and just letting it unfold. I think this is where I'm going to establish a path. You know, it's funny because I paint these, and since I'm in the middle of a classroom and everyone's talking, I omit the audio, and then I do this overlay audio, and sometimes I forget what I've done and I have to watch the video and go, oh yeah, there's some rocks. I'm putting some rocks in there. So it's kind of fun to relive it. More shrubberies. And this is just area where I'm just blocking in, you know, kind of for my mind, where I'm going to put some flowers later. The Alpine area of Germany or Middle Europe is famous for its floral meadows. And so let's see, more shrub. Now this is where I'm going to block in the village, off in the distance, down in the valley. It'll be kind of all lit up. Don't know why I put clouds in here, because I just obliterate them later. But again, I do things like this even though I know I'm going to get rid of them, because it kind of blocks it in my memory as to what I'm going to do later. Now, I don't know if that round shape is a sun or a moon at this point. It will probably be a moon, but later in the painting you'll see that I painted like a daytime sky, and I'll make a decision at some point as to whether it's going to be a moon or a sun. I just don't know at this point. I don't want to overthink it. Here you can see I kind of mark where the tree trunks might be peeking through the greenery, kind of delineate that shape a little bit, filling in the values of the stones, and I'm just blocking in rooftops. And again, again I know I'm going to just paint right over them, but it kind of helps me remember what I'm going to do. A few cypress trees off in the distance. And here it looks like I'm starting with some color, some yellow, put some light in there. So we just go with a little cadmium yellow. Might even be cadmium yellow light, but you can see that, you know, since the burnt sienna is wet, it just sort of mixes together and becomes a bit of an orange. So put a little bit in the sun and or moon, whatever it is. Still don't know. And then we start blocking in the hillside, a little bit of green. This is, I don't know, earth green and maybe a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow in it. And I probably, the yellow that's in it probably comes from the yellow that I put in just previously, because I don't clean the brushes that much. I just kind of let the color, you know, unless I'm going to be using purple and getting ready to paint like a, you know, a yellow, then I don't really clean the brushes out that much. I let the color just sort of overwhelm previous color, mix in a little bit, adds a little bit of interest, keeps the shapes of painting together, in my opinion. And so I'm just, painting grassy meadow here and there in the foreground. You'll see at some point that I'm going to lighten up this green a little bit, maybe put a little blue, try to gray it down some when I go to do some of the background hillsides. And that is to help simulate the idea of, or visually make it look as if the aerial perspective, what we call aerial perspective, things get lighter and grayer and bluer off of the distance because of all the water vapor in the area. And it gives you, it's how we create depth by adding or changing or lightening those colors. Now here I've actually put a little blue in it because I'm trying to darken the foreground to downplay it a little bit to, at some point, I don't want people to be paying too much attention to the foreground. It's just a bit of a border. And I want to control the viewer's focus towards the light part of the painting. So I darken areas where I don't think that they should be paying that much attention to. It's there for a reason, but it's not really there for you to, it's not the focus of the painting. It's like a visual frame for where I want to direct your attention to, as I said. So continuing just to fill in all the grassy parts. And here you go. You can see that I've really grayed down this green a lot by putting in white and a little bit of, it's probably cerulean blue, I think I did, yes. And you can see how, you can already see how that looks like it's much further off in the distance. And another hillside, and it's about the same color, but I think I've added a little bit more white again, just to push it another mile or back into the landscape, back behind the valley where the village will lie. And yes, I'm just going to obliterate these trees. I know they're there, and I'll put them back in, but it's easier to just go right over them than it is to work around them. And you can see a little bit more blue, once again, a little further off in the distance. There you go, filling it in. Now, I'm using a fairly small round brush, and I know I could probably cover a lot larger areas and a lot quicker if I used a bigger brush, but I like all that little brushwork to show, and I like using a slightly smaller brush. So that's my excuse. I work that brush. I feel like I have a lot more control than I do over a larger brush. This is just blocking in the pathway, and again putting some gray in the rocky outcroppings. And we're probably just about halfway through this video, so hang in there. Let's see. So some blue-green for the trees, and I know all of you are going to reach for that tube of Viridian that every manufacturer seems to be in love with, and they put in every kit. So if you buy one of those 8-packs or 10-packs or whatever they are of oil painting sets, they're going to have Viridian. I'm actually not using Viridian, but I know everyone does. If you insist on using Viridian for your evergreen color, please cut it with a little bit of burnt sienna so that it kind of deadens the acidic blue-green psychedelic nature of Viridian, so it doesn't look so unnatural. And you can see that some of my trees are a little darker if they're closer and lighter if they're further away. Also, note how I, not in this case, but back a few minutes ago, how I push the shape of the tree. I use the kind of the energy of the growth direction of the tree with my brushwork, if that makes any sense. I feel like I've lost my train of thought now, but I try to create energy in the tree in the direction it will grow, and I think I'll probably do that later, and I'll remind you of what I was trying to explain. So here we go, nice big bright sunny blue day, which again is probably going to become a night scene, but you know, this is the fun of painting with your imagination, is I think that you can just go and paint and block it all in and make changes later. Now, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to let this blue dry, and I'll glaze over it with, you know, Payne's Gray or Prussian blue or something to really give it a nice dark color. Now, some of you are going to say, well, why don't you just paint it that color? Well, because I don't know if it's going to be what it's going to be until it is. You know, I may decide that it looks really nice. I may turn it into a sunset. I don't know. I'm just going to paint and let the painting, you know, as it becomes more complete, let the painting kind of give me some feedback and let me decide on the fly as to what that painting is going to be. Now, I think right after I fill in the sky, I believe I'll come in with some Payne's Gray in an effort to darken the top edge of the sky, because skies generally are dark at the top and light on the bottom, but there's so much paint, thick paint, that cerulean blue, so much thick paint on the canvas that it would take, you'd almost need to use black to really darken it up, and I do not want to do that. I almost never use black in my paintings, and yet sometimes I say to myself, well, maybe you should use some black because you almost never do, but not today. So it looks like I'm just kind of trying to smooth things out. And here we go with the Payne's Gray. Just slather it on, spread it around, and you'll see that I go in, you know, the same direction, zigzag back and forth to kind of blend. But I don't leave it that way. I will go back. I need some more paint. I will go back and I will smooth that out a little bit later. You know, just for the purpose of moving the paint around, I go like this. And then I'm going to come back, smooth it out, go in multiple directions so you don't see as much of the brushwork. I don't really want a rough brushwork in the sky. I want it to be slightly more smoothed out. So here we are, just working that sky. Yeah, oh, we're going to add some light here. And this is probably just cadmium yellow light, but of course I'm working in wet oil paint, so it just mixes with the blue and just becomes green. And I blend this all around because I'm trying to get a little bit of light bouncing off the earth and back up into the sky here. Put a little light down into the valley also on that rear mountain. Okay, looks like I'm going to put some light in the valley now, a little bit of white and cadmium yellow, but there's so much blue all over the place that, you know, it's just coming out green. So I'm just going to, you know, shape what I want to do, shape the area, and come back once it's all dry and rework it some. And that'll be what part 2 is all about. It'll be all the detailing and all the interesting bits. Right now, this is just a very quick, I think this was just about a half an hour session. Maybe 40 minutes that I've compressed into 20 minutes apparently by getting rid of all the boring sections where I'm mixing paint. You don't need to see me mixing colors constantly. So now I'm just placing some light on the evergreens here. and just places here and there. I'm kind of just messing around. I'm going to put some light over the meadow area soon. And here we go. Another section where I've got a really soft synthetic brush, and I'm just blending the sky. Yep, there goes the dog again. And I'm softening the edge, trying to get that green pulled up into the blue a little bit better. It'll all work out. You just gotta have faith in your abilities, and you can always just gesso over it and start again, you know, which I rarely do, but you know, sometimes that's just how it ends up. I don't normally blend my colors that much, but once again, in the sky, and I do in the sky, and then I'm trying to make the faraway areas off in the distance a little bit more misty, a little bit more soft edges in the distance. And once again, that is a trick to make create a feeling of depth. Just soften up the front too. Here I'm just tucking in those tree trunks again, and you'll see that I just do short little sections. You know, they just, whoops, didn't like that the trunks just kind of peek through here and there. They're not, you know, all the way through the tree. Well, they are, but you don't see them. You just see them peeking through. And then I'm just painting a little sunlight, or maybe it's moonlight. I apparently still don't know. Across the yellow, breaking it up with a little bit of yellow, and I'm sorry, across the green, I'm breaking it up with a little bit of yellow and white paint just to create a little bit of light effect. See that? Just a little bit of brightness right there where whatever that round thing in the sky is. All right, so I'm just continuing putting some yellow and white hits here and there to break up the flatness of the darker green. And I think I'm going to put some light in the branches of the trees. We're getting there. Almost done, at least part one, that is. Looks like a little blue in the bottom. Again, using blue to create a little bit of shadow. You know, in the darker, in the lower parts of the trees where they're closer to the ground. Clearly nearly finished because I'm just sort of bouncing around right now. Looks like I'm just making some last minute shadow and last minute decisions in the bottom. All right, well, I think we're almost there, so thank you for watching, and I don't know when I'll get to part two. It'll be a couple of weeks, but you know, we'll get there. Okay, last thing I'm going to do is I have this little rubber stylus, and I'm going to scratch in a few dozen of these little vertical lines, because I'm going to come back later and put some lupines and other alpine plants there, but lupines tend to stalk a little bit like that, so I happen to think of that, so I'll, you know, it's a nice way to put the stalks in while the paint is wet. I probably have overdone it, but I'll fix it. I'll fix it later. Anyway, bye folks. Thanks for watching.